Welcome to Causing the Effect, a podcast focused on the exploration of your mind, body, and spirit.
Yo, what is going on, Causing the Effect community? The place where you become the most authentic version of yourself. Do me a favor before we start, hit that like, subscribe button. Let's get right into it. Rich Maloney, my man in Australia, coming to us 8:30 a.m. You're in the future, Rich. You're in the future.
I am, man, and it's a beautiful future. You're going to really enjoy it when you get here.
I love it. Rich is the founder, CEO of QMG, Quality Mind Global, leading mental wellness training, all the stuff we love here. And I know there's a story to it. I will let you start where you want. It sounds like you've been through some shit. I'm just going to say.
Yeah. Oh, well, firstly, thanks for having me, buddy.
Sure, man. Sure.
I love to spread the word and let people know what we're up to, and obviously what you're doing is fantastic too. So, look, man, I'm 46 years old. I've got a wife of 10 years and 3 beautiful daughters, and Quality Mind Global's been going in the background for me nearly 20 years, but and I'll get to that in a minute, but more so the last 3 years bringing this to life as a CEO and founder now in 50 plus countries. And we're like a licensing company. We've got about 25 licensees that use our IP. And but yeah, going well way back when I was a young tacker. I mean, I guess that's where we're heading, is it? When you lead me.
Yeah, so no, I want to hear about the what happened when you were in the Australian Football League. It sounded like you were a pro athlete, and the injury. I want to know about the mind, because what happened with me as a kid, we were talking a little bit about this earlier. Like anytime you're probably like me, like you're a perfectionist. You get good at things quick. The second something knocked me off my horse, I kind of quit. And I don't know if that's similar to what you dealt with. And I wanted to start with that story because that was captivating me. So,
all right, so. Back in my early school, my adolescent school days, I wasn't really loving school. You know, sport was my was my place. You know, I was good at it. I was always going to be drafted to the big league as a young kid from really 12 years old. And as life progressed, you know, I wasn't managing life very well. You know, there was a time when I was 16 where I actually had just about checked out. I knew the tree I was going to do it with, and it was a really tense and dense time. So sport was my stay home. And anyway, fast forward to the day I got drafted to St Kilda Football Club. I was 18, 19 years old, and had all the ability in the world, Scott. And then once you get to the big league, and plus I had a bad attitude, a chip on my shoulder, I just started to find I wasn't managing pressure very well. And so, got to the big league, and then I broke down. Like I just couldn't handle it. You know, my parents separated that year as well, and I was in a lot of pub fights, and I was in a part of a gang, you know, growing up somewhat. So I was right off, right? And so, when pressure came on, I started to see myself getting injuries for the first time, and I couldn't manage it. And so I didn't last very long there. I played a bunch of reserve games in the top league, and then I quit. I quit the St Kilda Footy Club, and I left the home and I travelled Australia, and I went into a deep, dark place of depression and anxiety and more trouble. And then I realised one day I've got to grow the hell up. And so I travelled Australia looking to play football, the next league down. And that's when my life started. And that's when I went on a very mystical and spiritual 12 years, when I was asking the big questions of why we're here, what's my role, because I really didn't want to be here. You know, my whole dream had blown up. And then I started to fall in love with the mind. You know, I was meditating every day. I was playing football as an enforcer on the weekend, so I was still quite physical, in a bit of trouble. And I was unhacking myself the whole way through over the next so many years. And so that's when I really started to take off and absorb. And I was hanging out at bookstores, New Age bookstores. I was studying quantum physics, universal laws, spiritualism, religion, NLP, hypnotherapy, life coaching, psychology, and I was a sponge. And so we're talking 20 years ago, and that's why I'm saying Quality Mind Global really started back then as I was putting the mosaic of the mind together. But all those hard times really have defined what I'm up to today. And this is my second company. Sold the first one. So my gift I started to figure out after a while was I could unhack my mind and unhack myself. And then I could start seeing patterns in other people, you know, and other businesses. And I'd put programs and strategies in place for people to unhack themselves. And here we are today, and we're rocketing around the world.
Dude, I love that. I mean, I feel like I'm like on year 4 of Rich's journey. Like I'm 15 years behind you, because when you start playing with this game with the mind, there's so many different ways to go. Now, was there one particular thing that really helped you, particularly with this pressure? And will you talk to me a little bit about that pressure? Was it like during the game, like when people were, because for me, my issue is I had debilitating stage fright, and I've destroyed that with comedy, thank God. But was it like, how did you deal with pressure, and what kind of pressure were you dealing with? And what was one of the biggest tactics to get out of that?
Yeah, great question. So what I started to figure out is, because after that, and throughout my journey, I've worked at 5 elite sports teams, in some capacity, either as a leadership and culture coach, a mind coach, or a commercial manager. So I've been right through the executive right down to the playing. And so what I started to figure out is it's how you manage your pressure outside of the performance, really Monday to Friday, if you're playing on the weekend, that will determine your success. And so it's about, okay, and we have a performance plan that we work towards now that I work with elite athletes for a living now. And I basically help them to don't do what I did for starters, and then actually giving them, I call it a personal activation system. So I started to figure out, just me diverting for a sec, Scott, is personal development doesn't really work if you really want to get the best out of yourself. Now, that's a big call. And the reason why I say that is because if you want to get the best out of yourself, your program in your brain is already solidified in you by the age of up to 7 years old. All right. So you got to hack yourself all the way back into your subconscious mind. And to do reading a book or go to a retreat or go to a 1 weekend workshop, it doesn't change the brain. It just gives you insights and awareness and some knowledge or tools and tips. But it doesn't change the brain for you to actually become the best version of yourself. And so then I started to put these procedures in place, which is the personal activation system, to help athletes to hack themselves throughout the week, all day long, every day long, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, for them to get to where they need to be. So pressure, quite simply, is the be all and end all of life. Whoever managed pressures the best will get the best out of themselves, because it's all about energy management as well. So if you're consistently depleting your energy systems through emotional thinking and overthinking and sloppy thinking, and living in the past and worrying about the future, you're never going to get the best out of yourself. And so there is a process that we call a 100-point plan. I've built a mobile phone app, which people get notifications all day long to check on their thinking, because it'll impact their body, and all these sorts of things. So yeah, it's a big question, but it's really about unhacking yourself throughout the week before you get to the performance. And let me add, that's why I wrote Injury-Free Mental Training for Elite Athletes, because I started to see a pattern in athletes who were injured all the time. And I really addressed it all the way back to their mental state. The patterning comes from low self-worth, not having fun, and just really lacking confidence, right, because of the injuries. And there's usually an underlying rattle in the engine, I call it, of their upbringing as well.
And I'm assuming with you, it was a little bit of the childhood stuff and a little bit of your anger and all that kind of stuff popping up, which everybody kind of deals with, but sounds like a little bit more prevalent for you.
Well, man, that was it. I get triggered straight away because I'm a redhead as well. I've got some pretty strong lineage in there. Then we can go. And so I had to unhack. In fact, when I went to a mentor once, when I was going through that spiritual journey, and I was like, man, I'm sick of the way I am. I was just firing off, and as I said, in a bit of a dust up occasionally. And he said to me, it's called the mirror reflection. But quite simply is, if you, that person in front of you who's you're attracting anger, physically, is because you're carrying anger. So everything out here is a reflection of your inner world. And to see the world as a theater, and it's purely a gift to show you what you need to work on, as opposed to it's their fault. It's not, it's all yours. And so once I really ate into that one and devoured that, which took a bit of time, then anytime anything comes up in my outer world, it's purely a reflection of the areas I need to work on for me to become the best version of me. And that was a defining moment of me managing myself. And that's part of what we do now with Quality Mind.
Yeah, and that's a Buddhist mindset right there, man. I love that. Talk to me about this the spiritual journey you went on. This is 12 years of mysticism and all that kind of work. I know there's meditation involved. What kind of other practices did
Yeah.
you kind of, drive on?
Oh, dude, it was everything. So, I was studying, crystals right through to, going to spiritual churches, hanging out and going, to people doing, channeling, right through to group meditations and just diving deep. This the esoteric. It's just limitless. But you've got to have your feet on the ground too. So there was New Age festivals I was going to, which some were just completely out there.
Yep.
But I got what I needed, right? I just got what I needed, whether it was off track, but I got really caught up in Indian cultures and, the Tibetan cultures. And it was just a world of, it was like concentrated, healthy food for my mind. But I was just compartmentalizing the whole way through. It was, how do I, this is like, because I really found that my niche was to help people. Because I was actually unhacking myself along the way, but I wanted to do it in a way where I just wanted a step-by-step system. I was doing life coaching, psychology, and I was like, I don't want to know so much of the what. I just want to know how to become the best really quickly. And so I just got rid of all the fat out of all the discussions and go, well, that doesn't really work. It's good for knowledge, but it doesn't make me change. And so that's why I sort of built this system, which is like a process system, but it involves spiritual awareness, it involves emotional awareness, intellectual awareness, and really getting yourself out of your own head, and so you can actually see yourself from a different point of view. We call it the coach's box, and seeing down and going, okay, well, because the whole idea of life somewhat is to really go back to who you really are and unhack what you've become. Because we don't even know why we're here, Scott. This is like the great uncertainty, but embracing uncertainty is one of the key factors, right? One thing's for certain is uncertainty. And so I love the fact that the veil of amnesia is on us as human beings, and we don't really know why we're here, is because you can then create yourself. And that's all we're doing all the time, is creating ourselves. Once you realize that you're always creating, then you can consciously create. Or like most people are unconsciously creating their lives, and they get to the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, and I go, I really haven't got things pumping my way, whether it's relationships, health, wealth, whatever it may be. And so the key is to be really critically focused in the creation of your life. That's probably one on a sidekick, man. But to ask someone about the spiritual experience, it's very personal too. It's just this. I just got so caught up in it and loved it. But at the same time, let me add, I was captains of footy teams and they had no idea. And I was quite, I was like living this contradictory life. And I was hope my mates at the footy club don't find out about this, because here I was diving deep into the esoteric.
Yeah.
But then bringing it back to reality. But then, but now it's become more mainstream, right? Now you can actually go out there and talk this, where for 10, 15 years I was hiding it.
Yeah.
And not sure. Yeah, not sure how to get it out.
I'm with you, because I'm the kid from New York who has the suit and a little bit of hedge fund. It was still, when I was starting the podcast, it was a weird thing to speak about this. But now I think we're at such an interesting time where the science has caught up with some of the spirituality, like, quantum physics, like you're saying, was the law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. That comes back to the Buddhist philosophy of reincarnation and the soul. Your soul doesn't disappear. Where does it go? So all this stuff, we're at such an interesting time. And I think what you're seeing with technology and social media and everything is like the practical sciences have kind of sped up, and now you're seeing the spirituality, the mind. This mind work is needed. Psychology, neuroscience. It's needed to catch up to even be able to not even be the best version of yourself, just be able to deal with life on an everyday basis and deal with social media and all that jazz. And I appreciate you saying that about spirituality, because like for me, some of the like your meditation practices, I don't like get into it with people, because it's a very, not only is it personal, it's also like you don't want people to expect what you did, because people are going to have a different experience. I don't want people thinking we're going to see white lights when, it's just everybody's on their different path. I've started, I realized a couple of months ago, like I really wanted to, I feel like I was I was going 1 foot deep in 100 different holes. And I said, this year I'm really going to go deep in Tibetan Buddhism. And for me, it's about reconditioning those plants, is what we call it, and those seeds that are really, it sounds like that's similar to what you're doing. Did you get some of these roots from Tibetan Buddhism?
Yeah, I took a lot of it. It's like as long as as long as it works, right?
Yeah.
And it's got a foundation. So Tibetan Buddhism really isn't a religion; it's like a way of life, right?
Yes. Yes.
And there's no he, she, or that's in charge. It's like it's deeper than that. And that's what I love
Yes.
about that. Thought processes but it was a bit of everything. It's a bit of everything, and I guess that was the jigsaw puzzle, the mosaic of the mind, where that's great for an awareness factor. And there's some powerful learnings there. But then how do you bring it down? That's what I created the technology with the app. We call thought shopping and bubble popping and all these things. There's about 300 meditations on there for people that even don't like meditating. So you've got to cater for all, as you said, my way isn't their way. But at the end of the day, to get the best out of yourself, you've got to go on the journey of self-awareness. And when you get to the awareness, when you get to the stage of really self-awareness, it all opens up. So this is the funny thing. Like we're starting to work now with the police and possibly the ambulances and because they're the frontline people that manage stress on a daily existence. So they need it the most, quite simply. But everyday people who are just stuck in a rut, right, and you're just forced to look within, then your life can really take off, because there's not many people on the planet who have health, wealth, and relationships all 10 out of 10 perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not many people on the planet have the three. So if you can get to the three, then you're in flow. When you're in flow, and then all of a sudden you start seeing things pan out in front of you, universal laws, and you start seeing the synchronicity of life just popping in.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only get that when you're in flow. Right, and it's like a magic. It's like then you start seeing life like this magical experience, instead of I've got to chunk through today and worry about that, and then the money flows for you, and then the relationships flow for you. But you got to continually unhack yourself along the way, because you keep getting lessons. Right, it doesn't stop. The lessons just get better and stronger, and then you get to a stage, and you get to another stage, and but you got to keep going. Does that make sense?
No, it makes, and everything you're saying I'm resonating with, because even the personal development thing, I feel like it's a good way to like open the door. It works for a couple years, but it's like lighting a match that's gonna go out eventually, and you need something deeper. That's kind of what I've been feeling. I went to the spiritual route. Now you're saying you're going back to 6-year-old, 7-year-old mind. That's really when we stop changing. Is that the NLP practice? Is that the hypnotherapy? Is that what we're talking about when you're going that deep into the subconscious?
And this is a really key point for a lot of people is like people with personal development, they get a bit sick and tired of it, because they know that they don't really change. So you get a Christmas book or something and you read it and you go, oh, that's an insightful thing, but do they really change? Possibly not. So why that is the case is because, and this is modern day science, is 0 to 7 years old, is that your brain, or the child's brain, is basically in a hypnotic state. It's in a frequency of hypnosis, even though they're consciously here. And that means is there's nothing in their programming, right? They've just got strands of DNA in their system. And so life goes, okay, Scott needs to get some programs. So you go out and learn English language. You learn the culture of your family, the community. If you grow up in a poor environment, you're likely to be poor, as opposed to growing up in a wealthy environment, more likely to be wealthy. Your habits, your belief systems, your stories, your identities form. So at 7 years old, right, then it's like buying a computer, like a Dell computer. You get it. There's no programs in it. If you get the keyboard and you can't tap away, there's nothing there. So you've got to go download Excel, Word. It's the same thing. So 7 years old, you're capped, you're off, out, off you go. And then 95% of that person is there, stored in the subconscious mind. Their habits, all the things that trigger them are there. And so that's why it's really hard to change. It's really hard to change. And so what we've got to do is only 2 ways to get into the subconscious mind for fast tracking change. Is one, through hypnosis, right? So you've got someone else's voice impacting your subconscious mind when your conscious mind's out of the way. Or there's the other way. The second way is through repetition, right? So learning to drive a car. So what you're doing then is you're consciously changing your subconscious mind through repetition. Right. So that's why we use technology today, to get our minds to consciously change our subconscious minds through repetition throughout the day. So does that make sense? So you're locked in, man, from 0 to 7. That's why it's so hard to change. Now, if you've had trauma, you can get rid of trauma, but you've got to be, people are scared of going back into that archive, right? Because it's a scary time, 0 to 7. But then we got to teach people to get out of that mindset pretty quickly, and then things really open up then. And as I say, it's all about getting in flow. Getting in flow is letting go. There's we use a life performance scorecard to get people in flow.
That's so cool, dude. Yeah. And I love how you're saying unhack, because again, personal development, self-help, it's like adding. And what I've learned through the process is like, it's more removing the veil of illusion and seeing where maybe you wouldn't see things unconsciously and subconsciously, and being able to like say, okay, this was the issue, and let's go after it. It sounds like that's a similar process to what you're kind of promoting.
Yeah. And it's a really delicate subject, right? Trauma. We're going to trauma for a second, but
Sure.
I've worked with PTSD clients for the last 15 years, and I've got a 95% success rate. Because it's PTSD, and it's a whole other discussion for another day. Once you remove that, then the floodgates open, right? Because then you can actually go back safely and actually work on yourself. But that can actually be a blocker to get people to go back, because it's like this stop guard, this picture in the head. And PTSD, quite simply, is a highly emotive situation that's been photographed in your head. It's the war, or it's a threatening situation, and what happens is the mind just keeps it up, but you literally can't see it, but your mind's seeing it. It's like walking around all day long with a banner in your mind of that trauma. Does this make sense? So
Yeah.
There's easy ways to delete that and not have the emotional connection to it, but you can still have the memory. And so once you start deleting that out, and this is why one of the reasons why we work with first responders, because they've got to be able to manage that trauma.
Sure. And then with that whole process, that would be a similar way to remove the trauma from somebody not dealing with PTSD, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with no PTSD, we still work on a scorecard, hope we're on the same page here, to help them get in flow. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So PTSD is just sometimes can get in the way of getting in flow, right? Because it's a heavy experience.
Sure. And I saw that, you're one of your groups, the Blokes United, just helping guys, with suicide and just really tough. Like, really, I think it's so important that you provide a safe and supportive space for men to like communicate about this stuff, because it's, I don't know how I'm sure Australian guys seem to be like the toughest. I can't look at a spider, Rich. I'm not going to Australia. I can't do it. But with you guys, it sounds like that's part of the identity of being Australian is, we're a little wild, we're a little crazy. And how is that getting guys to open up about this?
Yeah, so we started a forum just on COVID lockdown 1, and we had 24,000 blokes in there, and it's an open support forum where you can't judge anyone. So we took a while to sort of design that culture, and it's immediate blockage, So then people can come on safe and say, listen, there are many times people come on and say, it's all, they're done, they're out. And so then you just see 70, 80 comments, all this support just flooding in. Or it's just, one of the biggest issues on there is kids, fathers trying to get access to their kids. So it's many levels, right? But life's always pushing you to grow, and that's what people forget. Life, you won't get what you can't handle, and we're here to grow, and that's the key thing of life. And so you've got to be very delicate with blokes who really are in a really high sensitive situation. They don't need to be coached. They don't want to be coached. But us Aussies, look, we're a bit wild, we love to be last man at the bar and having a beer, but then at the same time getting on with it and looking after each other. I guess the same like to Americans. Yeah,
no, my favorite UFC fighter is an Australian. Is an Australian guy. He's always promoting the Australian flag and just like so prideful of it. I'm like that. Those guys are all together. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's very, very cool stuff. Now as far as the frustration, anxiety, like how do you suggest men or women, everybody, how would you coach somebody to deal with frustration, anxiety, maybe caused by not hitting your goals or frustration from financial targets? Because it sounds like, what I dislike about the self-help is just doing. It sounds like you have a nice balance of doing and being and, getting the internal side. How do you handle, help people handle that frustration, anxiety?
Yeah. So we call this one the 6 stages of mindful alignment. And this is where I really go back to hacking myself when I realize, see, everything starts with the way you speak to yourself. That's it. So it all goes back to that. And it's sometimes really hard to hear, because you've just got a default mechanism in your brain, which is like you've got a super highway. You wake up in the morning and you've got cortisol running through your system. You go, holy shit, and I'm not looking forward to the day, or whatever it may be. Or you're thinking about the people that didn't email you yesterday. So what happens is you've got to get really focused on that thought. Is that thought saying, I'm worried? If it's a negative thought, what you'll find is you'll get a sensation in your body. And this is stage 2. So stage 1, the thought goes in. Stage 2, the sensation hits the body, usually in the stomach, the chest, the throat, the neck, the head, sometimes even the lower body, but 9 times out of 10, it's up here. And that's the sensation. And this is really important because if you want to hack yourself, like for starters, everything is neutral until you give it meaning, right? Everything out here is neutral until I choose to give it meaning. All right, so this is where you got to go back to hacking. So the first stage is your thought goes in, the sensation goes in, and the third stage is you get into a mood, right? If the thought's off, the sensation doesn't feel good, and you get into a mood, right? Mm-hmm. And then the fourth stage is you get into anxiety. And so because you're banging into your head saying, I'm not good enough, whatever it may be. Today is going to be a tough day. The sensation in your body is just going to rail that one home. It's just going to dominate your whole body. So that's out of control. You get into a mood, you piss people off. You do that long enough, you get anxiety. The 5th step can be panic attacks, and the 6th step can be depression. So to hack that out, you've just got to go back to the thought, and then we do the opposite, just opposite thought, even if it's not true. And so I'm not good enough could be, I can handle anything life throws at me. Today's going to be a great day no matter what. And it's just about bang, 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 bang it home until your sensation changes. Because then you're owning your state. And one of my favorite takeaways to my clients is your state is your best mate. You've really got to own your state. No matter what, even an athlete before they go out on the ground, how's their state? Because your state will really will dominate no matter what it is.
Cool, man.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you got to hack yourself, man, because it's all bullshit. It's all out here is bullshit. It's just the illusion of life. Like and it's all about moments. Life is all about moments. And all of a sudden, bang, Scott, we spoke a year ago. We'll go, geez, that was a quick 12 months, wasn't it, Rich? And how many moments did life give you to experience? And then you go, how did I manage myself there? How did I manage myself there? How did I manage myself there? And it's all about staying present. The more you can stay present in the moments of life, the more you are in flow. But present being state is your best mate, present. So no matter what environment you go to, whether it's going to the coffee shop or whether it's going to a meeting with your colleagues, how do you manage your state? Right? Because you're in full control of your state. Out here, you don't need to worry about, because it's a choice whether you get involved out there or not. So managing your inner world and your state is everything. And so you can go through life in these moment by moment experiences more masterful.
Beautiful, man. And I'm assuming that's where the mindfulness will come in the present moment, not worrying about the past and having anxiety about the future, really being able to truly be in the present eternal moment.
Well, like if you go to my website, there's a free scorecard on there, and to get the flow, you can check yourself out now. And there's really body, mind, and soul, right? So there's 3 areas of the mind. Is you've got to be able to, what's your language in your mind like out of 10? And it's a lot of the times it's the same thinking as yesterday. And the day before, 90% of the thinking is of yesterday. So rate yourself out of 10 of that. Then rate yourself out of 10 how much you live in the now. Right? Then rate yourself out of 10 how much you're letting go of, just letting go. Just let go sometimes, and just forgive. Forgive others. And we've all got raw wounds, man. Everyone's got, I see as like raw wounds. You just can't see the wound. Right? So you trigger someone, that wound's like being infected. So anyway, that's mind. And then you go to body, how well you're sleeping, how well you're eating, and how well your physical fitness is. But then you go to soul, and it's about self-love. How much you just love being you. How much do you just love being you? Because this body is going to be gone soon. So how much do you love being you in this spiritual experience through called humanity? And second is how much you're excited by life. Right, so out of 10, how much you just wake up being excited, right? And then third is how much you connected to your awareness, your inner master, your inner GPS system, your gut feel, your intuitive awareness, right? Your heart mind connection. So once you get in, really, that's called flow, right? And so once you get body, mind, and soul, close to 10 out of 10, that means you got more energy. And then so when you got more energy, then you can basically do whatever the hell you want, because it's all about managing and manipulating energy. So go and check it out. If you've got listeners now, go and check it out and get on our website. It's called a free scorecard, and you can get an email report straight away.
And we'll put that right down the link below. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it too. Now, how much does fear pop up with your clients, and how do you help them overcome whatever that fear may be? Because I feel like fear is the stopping of people taking massive action.
Well, like fear of what though? Because there's just so many fears.
I'll take, I get this email a lot from people, and they go, Scott, I work 9 to 5, a stable job, but I have an inkling to do something else. And that fear of stability, of having the daytime job and doing their own thing. Like, I'm sure you may have had that when you were, starting up the big company, like that. That's just what comes to mind.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I mean, my number one rule in life is follow your highest excitement. Your highest excitement means your soul's telling you, your higher mind or whoever it may be, is going, go that way. Just go, right? That's why it's so simple when you read the science. And so if that's popping up, then you've got to sit down and go, okay, well, is this commercially viable? All that sort of stuff. And then, or sometimes you just got to take the big jump, right? And the big jump is liberating, scary as all hell. And I did that, 12 years ago with my first business. But then you've just got to watch the voice in the head, because it's all about, we have a child mind and a mastermind. That's how we teach our clients. And in there, you've got a coach mind. So the child mind is basically your mind, has the mentality of about a 13-year-old. It's designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep you safe. It's like, don't do this, don't do that. It's for evolutionary purposes. So it's actually required, right? But then because we weren't taught as kids to master our thoughts, we're stuck in that child mind. And that child will just dominate you to the point where it just continually gives you anxiety and blows you up. And, but when we look at our soul, like within us is a master. Within us is a Sherpa that knows how to get to the highest, to get to the mountain, the dreams which sit at the top of the mountain. And it's the Sherpa that's already there, and it's telling you to go through excitement. Right, so it's going, I'm up here, I'm up at the top of the mountain, Scott. Just follow me. I'm gonna show you through excitement. Right? You feel good. If it feels good, you can achieve it. Right? You've got to be really excited by it. That's my first rule. If you're really excited by it, right, then go down that direction, knowing full well you got to climb a mountain. Right? You got to climb a mountain. You can fall off the edge, but that's the child that will try and pull you back from those dreams, because that's ordinary. This is extraordinary. And so it takes courage and commitment and mind management for you to get to the top of the mountain. Right? But then if you see it from the coach's box, you go, okay, I'm going to be a coach right now on my own mind. And my decision-making coming from my child, or is my decision-making coming from my higher mind, my mastermind? Does this make sense a little bit?
I love everything you're saying. You got me. Because that's what started changing my thoughts, is when you start looking at let's say the child. I love the child mind, because that's like when you get scared and stuff, that's exactly how you feel. I looked at like it's a movie, and like you're watching the movie, but then when you pull back, you're in the movie theater, and then all of a sudden you're able to make your own decisions. You're able to change and be really in control of your life, instead of letting these kind of autonomous thoughts from they're all programmed just to be able to change them. That's really, really cool. Now, how big is right when you wake up to your clients? Because for me, that's been a game changer. Really getting my mind straight. The first hour and a half, mental work. Like, what does your mornings look like?
Yeah, man. So my mornings are very calculated. Monday to Friday. On the weekends, I might be out with the lads, so I mightn't be waking up too fresh. Not all situations, or the kids want something or whatever it may be.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm a 4:30 a.m. waker.
Me too.
I'll meditate. Yeah. 4:30. My clock just goes, wake up. I'm usually asleep by 9:30, 10:30. So 4:30 meditation, and sometimes it could be a visualization. Doesn't have to be a deep one. It just gets me settled, because I want to make sure my state's right. I don't put my feet on the ground until I'm actually going, today's gonna be a great day. And then this isn't hyper Mr. Positivity bullshit. Believe me, this is about programming your mind and your day. And then I go to the gym, or go for a run, or a cycle, back by 6. And then I get the kids ready for school, whatnot, and help the wife. And then we program each other. We go, today's been a great day. We really work with each other on that level. Plus, I've got my mobile phone app, which is just pumping me messages all day long, notifications, checking my state. And in there, as I said, if I do a walking meditation, there's a visualizations ones where you can just get supercharged. And so we just go through the day like that. So that first 2 or 3 hours is critical. And let me add, with my kids, because they're only young, is give them breakfast in the morning and I'm programming them. This is a hack for dads and mums out there, programming them, because I've got twins at 5 and I've got an 8-year-old, and I know that they're in that programming stage, right? So I'll say to them when they're having breakfast, and that's my finest half an hour with them, because I get to work about 7:38, and because it's just around the corner. I'll say to them, you know what I love about you this morning is everyone loves you because you're so empathetic and calm and relaxed under pressure. And then I'll go to Georgia and say, Georgie, the fact that you can just fall asleep quickly and the fact that you're looking after people is really impressive. So I'm just banging this through, just programming. I'm not trying to build their egos up, but getting them to make better decisions, getting them to believe in themselves, giving them confidence. And then I get to Amelia and I do the same thing, and they go to bed meditating every night now. They literally put the children's meditation on and they go down, so there's my sort of family environment.
Now, how do you manage to balance being a successful entrepreneur, keeping your mind right, keeping your body right, the kids, the wife, the clients? How do you manage all that?
Man, sometimes it's really hard, right? Because you've got to continually work on yourself. You just have to, there's no home base as such, because there's sometimes where finances are really hurting, and there's sometimes we're dominating, but then I've got relationship challenges with kids, and then you got to build the business, as you said. Man, I put it down to the morning. I really do. I really put it down to the morning and go, right, if I manage that first 2 hours like a master, then no matter what gets thrown at me, it just sort of ducks off a duck's back a little bit. And if I don't manage that morning very well, and that means I've had too many beers the night before with the lads, or, which is few and far between these days, but I still like to carry on with the lads.
Sure.
It can get in the way. But it's around the biggest juggle. And because the first company I built, Engage and Grow, which I sold, I was on the plane 3 to 4 months of the year, traveling the world, speaking on stage in 12 different countries. And my wife had just had these kids. It was manic pressure, and she was going through probably postnatal and depression. And, I had to really work on myself then. But it all worked out in the end. And we're better off for it. But at the time, you've just got to continually work on you all the way through, and don't get caught up in, getting into bad habits. That's probably the key thing here, which you can, because we're humans, especially, right. We want to sometimes run away from daily existence. But if you get your mornings right, you win the day.
Yeah, and that would start clicking for me. Like now, I'm like you. It's 4:30. What you're telling yourself when you hit that snooze or when you don't wake up, it's like you're gonna lose that. Like I want to win that first battle. That's first battle is really with that clock. All you gotta do is get up. Just start moving. That's it, man.
Yeah.
Dude, Rich, what a you got me all jacked up now. It's 7 o'clock at night. I'm gonna have to go run around the block or something, dude. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody could find. I'm gonna put your books underneath. Rich wrote 4 books, so we know too. The one I think that would apply to everything we're talking about: how to thrive under pressure and unprecedented times. That's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes,
I have that in my cart, so I'm gonna buy that. Rich, thank you. And I'm gonna put all the notes below to find him. Quality Mind Global. It sounds phenomenal. I'm gonna download the app too. Rich, thank you so much for your time, man. Seriously, this is great.
Pleasure, Scott. Love what you're doing, mate, and good luck to all your listeners. If there's anything you can do out there, grab a copy of this, check it out if you want a helping hand, but all the best.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rich. YouTube, if you're watching, thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button, leave a review, talk to me, send me an email, hit up Rich, whatever questions you help. That's it. If you're listening, leave a review on Apple, tell one of your friends about it. That's it. As always, stay safe, stay positive, stay blessed. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.